Welcome guys, today is a very special video because I'm going to be doing an updated version of my settings guide, and I'm gonna show you guys some hidden settings and some of them that are not really talked about, as well as some different mods that will be absolutely useful for you in your World of Tanks gaming journey. Alright, I'm going to start with the general settings. We have the chat section, which is basically just privacy settings, whether you want to receive chats from allies or not, clan notifications or friend requests. And you can basically just set everything here as you like. Now these two sections here are not that important. Just make sure to have show base markers in random battles and indicate communication on team panel clicked. Everything else is basically just optional. It's mostly just privacy settings here, as well as you should also tick this one, the show personal commands tab. Now, vehicle panel, this is like garage stuff. Whether you want to have 1 or 2 level vehicle carousels, I recommend 2 level because it's going to be easier to find your tank in the garage when you're selecting it. This one is the first important setting. In my opinion, this is huge. You have 3 settings here: historical, historical and non-historical, and historical, non-historical and fictional. So basically what this means is that in the game you have certain elements and 3D styles that are completely unhistorical, and there is also other 3D elements that actually hide weak spots on tanks. For example, you can put a giant machine gun in front of your cupola on certain tanks, and that machine gun is going to hide your cupola and make it much more obscure for your enemies to actually find that weak spot and hit it. So I recommend ticking historical, which means that only historical skins and 3D attachments will appear on the tanks of your allies and enemies, and this also preserves your PC's resources, so it will not have to process and load all those elements all the time. Now I recommend having replays on, obviously. If you want to save your replays, you had an epic battle, you want to show it to your friends, you want to request it on my stream, which you can absolutely do, by the way. So head over to twitch.tv/kajzoo if you have a really good battle to request. I'm gonna watch it. Now here we have stuff like display marks of excellence. You know, if you want to flex your marks to enemies and allies, you can absolutely do so. But here the two most important settings are anonymizing your nickname in battle and play on maps with random events. Now I'm gonna start with the random events maps. As of now, if you untick this feature, you are not going to be able to play maps like Prohorovka, for example. And Prohorovka is a very important map for light tanks. You're gonna have so many great games on light tanks on that map, so it's absolutely necessary to have this ticked on in case you wanna play lights and you wanna get Prohorovka. If you don't have this ticked on, you will not get the maps that are the same maps as the ones without random events. Those maps are not going to be loaded into the queue and you're not gonna be able to get on them. This is also true for heavy tanks. There's a lot of heavy tank friendly maps which have random events on them, so you should absolutely take this and make sure that it's on, because you're going to have way better battles this way. The second most important setting here is anonymizing your nicknames. Now why is that good, you might ask? Well, there's a thing called XVM, and XVM is basically something that shows your stats. And if you're really good at the game, you're gonna have high stats, high WN8, high win rate and whatnot. People that are running XVM will be able to see what kind of stats you have, and you're going to get focused a lot based on those stats. So you're gonna wanna have this clicked on just in case it happens. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys at the end of the video something really OP actually that I'll be using quite a lot. It's basically XVM, but it's not XVM, but I'm gonna tell you later. Now, on the right side here, we have the battle interface. Show vehicle tier, display dog tags who destroyed you, display customizable dog tag. This is not that important. However, what is important is you should make sure to have dynamic camera off, because if you have dynamic camera on, your reticle is going to keep bouncing every single time you bump into someone, you drive over some obstacle, or you're actually shooting at someone, and it's going to drop the camera literally to the sky. And also when you get hit by someone, it's going to drop the camera straight facing the sky, and it's going to be very annoying for you to play the game that way. Smooth camera zoom, very important. Enable tactical view, enable commander camera. This basically allows you to zoom out of the battle, look at the situation from above and assess it, and you can also look behind obstacles this way and plan your next move, which is very important. I recommend using X16 zoom, but not X25. X25 is way too much, it provides way too much magnification, and it makes you tunnel vision a lot, because you simply don't see the left or right hand side of the enemy tank that you're aiming at. X16 absolutely, X25 is a no-go. Now, we also have this very important setting called enable serve reticle. So what the game does is, basically you have the reticle. When you don't have this enabled, you have the simple reticle that is going to move analog to your computer. Basically where you take your mouse and you aim around, it's going to follow it very smoothly and give you the perception that your shots are actually going to 100% go where you're aiming at with your mouse. Wrong. There's a latency between you and the server, and that means that sometimes when you have higher ping, or sometimes when there's a jitter in the server connection, that shot is going to completely miss and you're gonna have no idea why I did that. So I recommend you guys, if you have between 10 to 80 ping, I recommend you guys turn on server reticle, because it actually will show you where the server thinks where your reticle is truly pointing at. So it's a very important setting in case you want to avoid missing those accidental shots. Now, another important setting is the preferred sniper mode zoom level. A lot of people have this set to last used, which is pretty bad. I'm gonna give you an example. When you're playing with X16 zoom mode, right? You're shooting at someone, you're sniping him across the map, and when you zoom back in, it's going to put you back on the same magnification level as you were before. So I recommend putting this to X2, which means that every single time you aim at someone and you unzoom, it's going to reset your perception of the battle. You're going to see more, you're not going to tunnel vision, and you're going to see in case there's an imminent threat or danger to your tank around the enemy tank that you're aiming at. Now, these 5 settings are just extra information: speedometer, repair time, display notifications when you're not causing damage, so when you ricochet, when you do critical damage. I would say click all these on and turn them on. Important info, and that's gonna help you in the long run as well. In case you have a better PC, I recommend turning this on. Show vehicle HP in team panels, always. It is going to drain some resources, and it's going to give you some FPS drops in case you're running a worse PC. So I actually have this on up on pressing Alt. So every time you press Alt, it will display all the HPs, both teams, that your allies and your enemy has. Now, the next very important setting is enable expanded minimap features. This is extremely useful. It's going to display the last spotted location of enemy tanks, all the view range circles like the proxy circle, the render circle, and the view range of your tank circle as well. Very, very important stuff, and it's absolutely necessary to play the game at a higher level and to understand what's going on. Another very small tip I can give you is enable this one. Tips on the battle loading screen. So when the battle is loading, you can see both teams' lineups, and in the middle you're going to see the minimap and the side that you're actually going to be on, which is going to be very, very crucial. And that means that you're going to get some extra time and not just the 30 seconds to basically decide where you're gonna go on that map. You're gonna see it already, and then your brain's already gonna start working out, oh, okay, the enemy tank has like 10 heavy tanks, I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go farm them, and I'm going to go into this position, and I'm 100% sure there's going to be tanks coming that way, so you can already make that decision, and actually not have to worry about it too much during the 30-second countdown. Very useful feature, and I recommend you put this on minimap. Now you have stuff like configuration switching on loading screen, enable beginner tips in random battles. Sure, but they're not really that necessary. Now, you have to make sure that you have every single one of these settings clicked. Show the draw circle, view range circle, proximity spotting circle. Very, very important settings. There's no reason not to have any of these ticked. And now let's hop onto the graphics. So, I have been experimenting for a long time to make the game look nice, but at the same time also stay competitive. And these are the best settings I could come up with in the last couple of years. So, I'm playing the game at 2560 by 1440 resolution, V-Sync, but I have G-Sync on the monitor, so which means I have a 240 Hz monitor, I'm gonna have 240 FPS, which will not fluctuate up or down, it's going to stay like that. It's going to give me the smoothest gaming experience. Very important setting here is the field of view. FOV should be always at maximum because it's going to give you a much wider perception of the battle and much wider perception of what's actually happening around your tank. So it's going to be very important when making those decisions. There's not much here to tell other than that. You can go into the color adjustment mode. I like the deep filter a lot, or the contrast filter. But you can also make your own and you can play around with it, see if you like it. It's not that important. It just gives you a little bit of a aesthetic to the game that you actually get to choose. Right, let's head over into the details, which is the more important aspect of these settings. So once again, I mentioned it, I wanted to make the game look as beautiful as possible while remaining as competitive as possible at the same time. What you can do is go into details, pull everything on Ultra and Max if you got a good PC. You don't have to have these things that high if you have a worse PC, but in case you're running a better one, it's actually good to have them because it's gonna give you a nice game look. Now, lighting quality on maximum, shadow quality on high, well, the low setting, motion blur effect, completely forget that. It's going to obscure your perception in the battle quite a lot, and I don't recommend this at all. Post-processing on ultra. Now, terrain and water quality on medium. For me, it's not that important. You can also put it on ultra if you like. Terrain quality on ultra again to make the game look nice and clean. Now, recommend turning these two on, terrain tessellation, and vegetation quality on ultra as well, to make it look nice. The things that you don't absolutely need, and these things are the ones that are going to make you more competitive, is grass in sniper mode. Very, very annoying. If you're sniping in the back and there's grass in front of you and you want to shoot the enemy tank, you're going to have that in your reticle, which is going to be very annoying, and it's going to make you miss shots and also ruin your awareness in battle. Definitely turn this off. Fully transparency also off. Now, you have these three settings: enable track and wheel traces, effects, destruction physics. You know, like it's going to basically just cause more stuff to be on your screen. It's not gonna, this one might actually make it look nicer, but I recommend turning these off because there's going to be less clutter on your screen and you're not going to have to worry about that. And that means that you're going to be more focused on the battle and what is actually happening around you. Now, extra effects quality basically does the same. Extra effects in sniper mode, make sure to have that fully off. The rest of them, it doesn't really matter, but I like to have them off because once again, I would like to stay competitive, see less clutter around me, and actually not get distracted by what is going around me in the heat of battle. Now, hopping over to sound, I have the music and ambience sounds completely turned off because I'm listening to music when I'm playing myself. Effects on 29, voice notifications on 17, vehicles on 13. This is basically completely optional to whatever you like. It doesn't really make much difference. This is not War Thunder, where you need to actually hear the enemy's engine sound in order to tell them where they are coming from. Obviously, it's useful to see when the enemy is shooting, and I actually recommend you guys counting down the enemy autoloader shells when they're shooting, because you can obviously hear that. But apart from that, sound settings are not that important in this game. Now, controls are completely optional. Basically, you can set this however you want. The important part is this one. Sensitivity. Super important that you have a low sensitivity while playing this game. Very, very, very important. If right now you look at the screen and you see your sniper aim all the way here, promise me that in the next few days you're going to take this and you're going to lower it little by little by little by little by little until you get to where I'm at. It is going to help your aim so much. You don't even know. You're going to hit those cupola snipes. You're going to hit those tracking shots. You're going to hit those snapshots as well, way more accurately, and if you do so, you're going to have way more fun. Arcade aim. Arcade aim should be relatively high compared to the sniper aim, because when you're actually playing the tank and you're outside of the sniper view, you're gonna want to have to look around and you're gonna want to be able to do it fast. Looking around you in this game is like 60% of what the gameplay is actually about. Positioning, awareness, very, very important. This, looking around, combined with the minimap, is the two tools you have to win more games, to do more damage, and as a result of those, have more fun. Very important to have it, I would say, like 4 times the sniper aim. Artillery aim, we don't talk about that. Trajectory view, we don't talk about that. Free camera, yeah, have it like here. Okay, reticle, guys. There are 2 settings that I found that are really, really working, at least for me. The O-shaped one reticle, like this, with a solid center dot, which is coming with an armor penetration indicator. So it's going to turn red, orange, or green, whether you're going to bounce or maybe pen, and penetrate 100%. Recommend you this, guys. This is very, very good for tracking people. I found it's very, very good for cupola sniping as well. And I think this gives you like the best perception and the best chances to do lots of damage. You can also go for the A-shaped one, this one. I like this one a lot. A-shaped 4 with the dot is basically the same, but I found that this one is way better for cupola sniping, but it is not as good for sniping long distances. For me, the bottom of the A-shape sometimes confuses my brain, and I miss a lot of long distance shots as a result of that. You can actually play around with this, see if you like this one more, or the O-shaped one. I think this one, in general, this one is the absolute best for all kinds of scenarios, and you're gonna be able to max out and squeeze everything that is good about it. What I also found to be working is that when you go to sniper mode here, you select the diagonal one, you're gonna have some arrows here, as you can see. You highlight this and you're gonna have those arrows here. And those arrows actually help you quite a lot when you're aiming, especially at long ranges. You're gonna be able to lead better and your brain is gonna function much better. I like to have the load and condition off because it just, for me, it's not that important. You're gonna have a counter here for the reload anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. I just found it to be a little bit distracting here to have this, you know, like, it's completely up to you, but I like to have these 2 off. Now, artillery, we don't talk about this. I recommend visiting Dr. Nix's stream for that. Outlining, this is a relatively new feature. Well, new, it's a couple years old now, but I think a lot of you guys don't have these activated even. So there's two types of outlining. You have standard, which highlights every single thing that is on the tank, including attachments, including machine guns, which are not actually part of the tank's model. You're not gonna cause damage by shooting here. So you have to select simplified, and this way only the damageable parts on the tank will be highlighted when you hover over them with your mouse and you get the silhouette. Now, the penetrable area should be texture, as you can see. This one, it will basically display, and I found this to be extremely buggy in the game. This part, most of the time, does not actually work in the game. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't actually work. Let me know in the comments if you actually encounter the same problem. But make sure to add it on texture, and this way you're gonna have some X's here, and that's basically going to mean that if you have AP or APCR shells, or HE, you will be able to shoot through this box and actually cause damage to the tank. Now, the impenetrable area is the area that is going to be behind solid obstacles. This part you're not going to be able to hit because it's behind an obstacle, and you're not going to be able to do damage as a result of that. Make sure to have this on fill, because if you have it on none, it's going to be very confusing. You can also have it on texture if you like, but I like to have this in fully red because it's just way more apparent whether you can do damage to that tank or not. Armor flashlight. This is a feature of the World of Tanks 2.0 update. In my opinion, this feature is extremely toxic, and I don't like it. I don't like that it's in the game. but we have to live with it. So I'm gonna show you guys how to get the best out of it. Now, armor flashlight is basically what you can see here. When you hover over an enemy tank, it is going to tell you where the weak spots are. It's going to highlight that zone, that area. So you can see the T-28's mantlet here is red. You will not be able to penetrate that. This area is orange, which means that you might penetrate, and this area is going to be completely green because you're going to 100% penetrate the shot. First of all, click enable at the start of battle. Import flashlight resolution, high, medium, low. It's going to basically just make it look more ugly. But I recommend staying on high because obviously this is going to be more high resolution. It's going to be more pleasant on the eyes. You can also select armor highlights, which means that it's going to highlight the weak armor only, the strong armor, or all the armor. But I recommend leaving this on all armor because obviously when you're looking for a weak spot, it's going to give you a much better perception of what's actually happening and where you should actually aim at. Now we have the flashlight texture, which is going to be, well, a little bit more funky. I don't really like these ones at all. This one looks best. So recommend to leave this on the solid one as well. Now, marker. And this is also not that important. You can basically play around with this as you like, but I think it's very important that you see the vehicle model, so what enemy tanks, what the enemy tank is. If you're new at the game, I recommend clicking on the tier, because then you're gonna see what tier the enemy tank is. But for the more experienced players, you don't need this, because we already know like that a Tiger 1 is going to be a tier 7, right? It's going to be useless information. More clutter on the screen, which means it's going to be more distracting. HP left total doesn't really matter. You can do the same for your team. Vehicle model, player's name. What I recommend you to do though is you have the health indicator bar here. Make sure to have that off, because when there's a team fight happening and there's more tanks playing in the same position, click on health indicator, you see it's going to be, again, a little bit more distracting. And now imagine you have like 5 of these next to each other. And seeing your allies HP like this, clutter next to each other, is not that relevant in that case. So yeah, I recommend to have this off. Now, destroy. This is also quite important. Whenever you're playing at the late game and your end game, and you're looking for some additional objects to hide behind, you can use the wrecks of your enemies and your allies. And it's important to know what tank's wreck it is, because if you're familiar with the tank, you can actually make sure to have the vehicle model on, nothing else, just the vehicle model on. And for example, you want to cap the base, and you know there's going to be a mouse wreck in the base. Well, that means that you're going to have a way bigger object sitting in the cap, and you can actually play around with that mentally, than say it was like an even 90 wreck or a small light tanks wreck. So recommend turning this on. It can be very useful. Now, as for battle notifications, you should have this on advanced, because if you don't have it on advanced, it's going to look like this. And if you have it on advanced, it's going to exactly pinpoint from where you're getting hit, for how much you're getting hit, from what tank you're getting hit, and the module that they're also damaging. So you recommend ticking every single one of these boxes. Very, very important, and it's going to give you some more info to work with. Battle events. I also recommend having every single one of these ticked, because once again, it's just going to give you more information on what you're doing. Also, this is very, very useful. Here, this one, the spotted marker. Whenever you spot someone in the beginning of the game, it's going to display on the middle of your screen, and your mind is gonna be like, oh, okay, where is this tank? Where should I aim? Should I aim left? Should I aim right? It's going to subconsciously trigger this kind of hunting effect in you, and it's very, very useful to have this on. Okay, log. Again, this one is quite preferential. You can do here as you like. It's gonna basically tell you how much damage you did, how much damage you blocked with your armor, and how much damage you did with assistance, as well as give you a small list that you can actually press Control and then scroll down with your mouse wheel. Now, map border, it's going to basically display where the red line is. You cannot drive past this, and I recommend having this on dotted line and always highlighted, not just when approaching, because when you're basically blinding someone at the red line, you're not going to see where the red line is, and it's just going to make you look stupid. Make sure to have it on always highlighted, dotted line or wall, doesn't matter. Battle report and missions. Display team HP bar, HP number, HP difference, and vehicle icons by tier. As you can see, look here, display team HP bar. It's going to give you how much HP your team has and your enemy team has. Very important when making decisions. For example, you see that your team is losing all the HP. That means that you're going to have to play more passive. And if it's the other way around, if you see the enemy is losing HP really fast, but your team is quite healthy, that is going to be meaning that you need to play way more aggressive, because the battle is about to end. And if you don't go in now for the damage, that means that you're going to be left out and not be able to find any healthy remaining enemies if you don't go for it in the right amount of time. Now, all this stuff, basically you should have it on. HP number, HP difference, you can see, as well as the vehicle icons by tier, which is going to display how many types and tiers of enemy tanks and allied tanks there are still in the game. Now, display missions, you can also pull this on. Very useful in case you're doing missions. That's basically about all the settings for now. I'm gonna show you guys a couple of mods that are really, really useful. So in case you were not familiar, I actually have a mod pack that is made by Mr. Champy. You can actually click the link in the description in case you want to have it downloaded. But if not, you can head over to my website, and it's always going to be on the top right corner, and it's always going to be fresh, and you're always going to be able to download it right here. You only have a handful of mods, but these mods are really useful. You have expected vehicle values. It's very useful. It's basically called the Marks of Excellence mod, or MOE mod. It's going to display what's your percentage, your mark percentage in the battle. It's going to be quite important because it's also going to tell you, since the assistance damage counts into marks, it's going to tell you whether you have more tracking damage or you have more spotting damage. Now, if you have more tracking damage, you want to go for more tracking damage and not for spotting damage. And vice versa. If you have more spotting damage, you don't want to track people, you just want to avoid tracking people actually, and going for the spots at the late game. You also have the white crosshair, white reticle. It's going to make your crosshairs white. It's actually something I really enjoy and like. You have the battle hits mod, which basically shows you where you got hit and where you hit the enemy tank. So in case you have some freaky bounces that you have no idea how it happened, you can actually click this on, and after the battle, you can go here to the bottom right, click on battle hits, and here it's going to show you what actually happened and how the tanks hit you. You have the battle equipment mod, which basically means that all the equipment is going to be displayed next to your loadout. And this one is very important. Do you guys remember when I was talking about XVM and how you can see the enemy stats and how you can make conscious decisions to focus the good players out from the enemy team? Well, XVM gets completely countered by anonymizer. You cannot use XVM when you're anonymized yourself, and you cannot see other anonymized people's stats. However, Champy, the mod developer, came around this problem and he solved it by developing his mod that is called Player Panel Pro. Now, this mod basically allows you to see enemy players' WTR rating, their battle count, and their win rate. And it's all going to be displayed with different colors. Same with XVM. And this is going to massively, and I mean massively, help you. But you must know that this one is very resource intensive. So I only recommend turning this on if you don't mind losing some FPS in the game. Better reticle size is a mod that I don't really like. It basically means that your reticle will be smaller and it's going to better match the tank's dispersion values. I never believed in this. It probably is true. I never believed in this, and it always made me like snapshot way too early and not fully aim my shots, so I don't actually use it. It's in a mod pack because members of my community like using it. The scale mod, again, if you have a high resolution, you can actually press Ctrl, Alt, and page up and down, and you can basically just zoom in and out and scale up the UI to whatever you want to have. Now, you have the Armor Calculator Pro, which is again a very useful mod, It is going to basically tell you how much armor you're aiming at. It's going to write how much armor you're aiming at and how much penetration you have over distance. It's going to be very useful, and in combination with Armor Flashlight, it is basically a game changer, if not a game breaker. Make sure to have mod dependencies on as well, because it's going to make sure the mods work. If you guys are interested in the mod pack, down in the description below or on kajzoo.com on the website, top right corner. Thank you so much guys for watching the video. I hope I could help, and I'm gonna see you with the next one.